The movie begins in Swinton, Tilda, Louisiana, as a cop named Kevin enters a local diner. It is revealed that he often comes here and even refers to the server as Pops. However, the mood inside the diner is tense, as Pops clearly doesn't want to do any business with Kevin. This is because a cop recently shot a young black boy to death on suspicion of drugs and weapon possession. Turns out the boy had neither, and this whole incident got even worse when the police officer was allowed to walk away without punishment. Pops hands Kevin his drink, but says the cops aren't welcome in this establishment, at least for now. Thus, Officer Kevin heads back to the streets of Swinton for his nighttime patrol. After some time on the road, he sees a green van with no number plates and turns on the siren, indicating the van to stop. Kevin also reports the situation back to the control room through his radio. He then switches on his dash cam as well as his body cam and begins approaching the van, which has now stopped by the roadside. It is raining heavily, and Kevin can barely see anything through the windows of the van. He does, however, notice a blood-stained handkerchief placed on the dashboard inside. Sensing something amiss, he immediately orders the driver to come out of the vehicle. It turns out the driver is a black woman, and she slowly disembarks from her van. She looks extremely shabby and has a strange, frightened look on her face. Kevin takes a few steps back and brandishes his gun. Following this, the scene abruptly shifts to a POV shot from his body cam. The police officer is violently yanked up into the air by something before the footage stops. We then cut to 12 hours ago as a black police officer, Renee Lomito Smith, sits idly by the window of her house. There's an expression of deep sorrow on her face, and she seems to be struggling mentally. It is then revealed that around 9 months ago, Officer Renee had lost her son to an accident. A few weeks after that harrowing incident, she had punched a civilian while on duty. Her department was forced to suspend her for 8 months, which ends today. Later, she visits the police supervisor, who conducts an interview to check Renee's mental condition. She assures him that she has now moved on from the death of her son. The supervisor then asks her a few more routine questions and allows her to rejoin duty. Following this, the watch commander, Sergeant Kesper, welcomes Renee back to his team. He also pairs her with rookie officer Danny Hollage, who has been with the Swinton police force for only a couple of months. Everyone is glad to see Renee back, but she isn't very happy to have a novice as her night patrol companion. Nonetheless, she agrees to take Danny under her wing, and the duo soon leave for their duty. They are driving by a local neighborhood when they come across a young child playing alone in the middle of the street. Renee thinks it is slightly off for such a young kid to be out alone at nighttime, so she stops her car and turns on her body cam before approaching the kid. Just as the two police officers are asking the kid if he's doing okay, several people from a nearby home rush out to the street. The recent killing of a young black kid named DeMarco has soured the relationship between the cops and the local community. Citizens do not want police anywhere near their neighborhood, let alone near their kids. Thus, both Renee and Danny get yelled at by the people for no reason at all. Renee fortunately calms them down, saying she was just trying to make sure the kid was alright. The two officers then calmly head back to their patrol car. Once they are safely inside, Danny commends her ability to handle such a tense situation. But Renee, who lost her son not long ago, seems to understand why everyone is on edge currently. Moments later, the duo are contacted by the police headquarters on their radio. It turns out Officer Kevin Ganning has not been responding to emergency calls. The headquarters now wants them to go investigate his current location. He's probably at the movie theater beaten off to Inside Out 2 again. So the duo quickly heads to the given coordinates, which is not far off from where they are. They drive only a few blocks further and notice Kevin's car in the middle of the road. They switch on their body cams and casually approach the car. However, things take a dark turn when Renee notices blood on the windshield. Danny also sees several teeth along with blood all over the road. They quickly radio back to the headquarters asking for backup. In the meantime, Renee inspects Kevin's laptop, which stores the video footage from his dash cam. It shows her the recording of what exactly happened to the officer. The footage is extremely shaky, but Renee can see a green van with no number plates. She watches on as Kevin asks the driver to come out of the vehicle with their hands up in the air. At that moment, the footage starts to blur at regular intervals, but Renee notices a woman coming out of the van, and suddenly, Kevin is flung upwards several feet in the air. The officer lands violently on the hood of his car seconds later. This must have caused his teeth to fall all over the street nearby. The video then abruptly ends, and Renee cannot see who attacked Kevin. Following this, she and Danny start checking their surroundings for any possible clues. They see torn pieces of police uniform stuck on a metal gate nearby and head forward in that direction. They soon come across a harrowing sight. Kevin's bloody body is strung onto a metal fence. Shortly after, the emergency medical team as well as more police officers arrive at the scene. Sergeant Kesper is accompanied by IT specialist, Detective Susan, who also works for Swinton Police Department. Renee tells her about seeing a green van with no number plates in Kevin's dashcam footage. However, Detective Susan replies that neither Kevin's dashcam nor body cam had been working when he was attacked. They have no proof that any green van was present in the area at the moment, and with no substantial evidence, Renee's claims are dismissed by the sergeant. But the claims are based on literal evidence. While the police headquarters gathers primary reports of this brutal murder, Renee and Danny are given early leave for the night. They head to a local bar where Renee reveals that Kevin was her mentor and ex-patrol partner. She also opens up about the accident that killed her son. Apparently, the little boy had drowned to death in her neighbor's swimming pool. That night, Renee has a nightmare in which she sees glimpses of the woman from the green van. The woman seemed to be wearing some sort of hospital scrubs, and there was a cross symbol drawn on her trousers. Renee wakes up disturbed and decides to calm herself by watching videos from the day her son was born. She then suddenly realizes that he was born in a hospital, which had the exact same cross symbol. Upon further investigation, Renee sees the same woman in the hospital's staff list. Her name is Tanesha Bronze, and she is a nurse by profession. However, she is not reported to the hospital for the past 6 months. The next night, Renee is back on the road with Danny, and she is determined to investigate the case further. The duo soon arrive at Tanesha's house and switch off their body cams before heading in. While checking the rooms inside, they find a photo of Tanesha and her son. They continue to investigate the house, which is in a dire condition. The place is so cramped and teeming with cockroaches that Danny quickly goes outside to catch some fresh air. Renee keeps looking around, hoping to find some sort of a clue, but is unable to do so. Just as she is about to exit the house, she has this creepy feeling as if some unknown entity is watching over her. Despite not finding any substantial clues, Renee digs deeper into Tanisha's life. The officer discovers that her son, DeMarco Bronze, was killed in a gang shootout about 6 months ago. Elsewhere, while Tanisha is shopping in a grocery store, she is harassed by 2 men. One of these thugs whips out his mobile phone and starts recording her without her consent. Coincidentally, 2 on-patrol officers, Roberts and Bierk, spot a green van without any number plates parked outside the store. This is the same van that was seen on the day when Kevin was murdered. The 2 officers radio the headquarters and demand immediate backup. This call is then relayed to Renee and Danny, who are a few blocks away. Meanwhile, Bierk and Roberts enter the store and question the 2 men aggressively. They even pull out their guns, but this turns out to be a big mistake. One of the thugs ends up shooting Bierk and takes Tanisha hostage. He then threatens to kill the woman, but suddenly, a dark entity appears behind him. It lifts the goons up, causing him to let go of the hostage. The criminal is so scared that he begins to fire randomly and ends up killing everyone, including the store clerk and his partner. During the chaos, Tanisha slips out of the store through the back door. Officer Roberts, now the only person alive inside, quickly investigates the area where the shooter was. To his horror, the criminal's body falls down to the ground right in front of him. Before Roberts can react, the entity places a plastic bag over his face and begins suffocating him. The officer somehow manages to escape and tries his best to fight the entity, but he is soon killed. Shortly afterwards, Renee and Danny arrive at the store, only to find that everyone is dead. She then comes across the security camera recordings, but they are extremely shaky and blurry. Thankfully, she finds the phone of one of the goons, which she keeps for herself. After returning to the police station, Renee visits the forensic department to get details about the victims. The medical examiner explains how all the victims have had their teeth knocked out. Renee pleads with the examiner to give her 5 minutes alone with the bodies. The latter reluctantly agrees, but tells her that she cannot steal anything or disrupt the bodies because she is not supposed to be here. Once she is alone, Renee pulls out the phone that she found at the store. She then unlocks it with the thumbprint of one of the goons and removes the lock screen option for good. Later that evening at home, Renee reviews the video from the phone. She notices the strange entity behind Tanisha and the man holding her hostage. Simultaneously, Renee gets a lead on the origin of the green van. It is revealed that the van was stolen from a local church a few nights before Kevin was murdered. The following day, she heads to the church and questions the pastor. He reveals that the van was never stolen, but actually loaned to Tanisha. It turns out her son, DeMarco, used to attend several youth programs at the church. The kid was apparently deaf, but still volunteered in several social programs. The pastor also gives the officer a possible location of Tanisha. Sometime later, Renee arrives at the address, which seems to be some dilapidated house infested by drug addicts. She enters inside and finds photos of young DeMarco, along with several drawings. However, in one of the cupboards, she sees something that knocks the wind out of her. There is a file containing photos of officers Kevin, Roberts, Danny, and Deputy Sergeant Penda. The dead policemen have a red cross drawn across their photos. This proves that the recent murders were actually planned and not simple random events. Suddenly, Renee sees a CCTV camera on top of the cupboard, which seems to be monitoring her. She rushes outside and tries to call Sergeant Kesper, but he does not pick up. She then calls Danny and tells him that she needs to talk to him face to face. The latter agrees to do so and asks her to come over to his house in an hour. Later, when Renee arrives at Danny's house, she finds the front door open. She enters the home and searches for him. To her utter horror, she finds a note saying, "I am sorry," in the bathroom. Danny, for some reason, has committed the unthinkable, and his lifeless body is in the bathtub. As the grief-stricken Renee tries to wrap her head around the situation, she finds a flash drive on the sink. Once she gets back to the patrol car, she inserts the flash drive into her laptop. It contains footage from Danny's body cam, which includes himself, officers Kevin, Roberts, and Penda during a police patrol. It shows them yelling at a young boy who seems to be walking away from where they are standing. In a tragic twist of events, Deputy Sergeant Penda shoots the boy for not complying with orders. The others quickly restrain the boy, and Penda begins going through his backpack. He then realizes that the boy is deaf, and it is none other than Tanisha's son, DeMarco. Following this, Danny tries to help the kid and reveals that his teeth have come out, but Penda snaps back, pointing out how bad the situation is and how they will face grave consequences. He then brutally suffocates the boy and kills him, much to everyone's horror. In the present, an emotionally shaken Renee calls Sergeant Kesper and arranges a meetup. She later meets him at a warehouse and reveals what the 4 officers did to DeMarco. However, it is obvious that Kesper is already aware of it. He pulls his gun on Renee and tells her that the issue is best left covered. He even forces her to walk inside the building while Penda also arrives at the spot. Once inside, the deputy sergeant demands Renee hand over the footage. When she refuses, he cruelly shoots her in the abdomen area. At this intense moment, Tanisha arrives out of nowhere and confronts the policemen for killing her son. She also gives the officers an ominous warning, saying DeMarco remembers them. It is then revealed that the dark entity who has been on a killing spree is the vengeful spirit of DeMarco. It appears out of thin air and beats up Sergeant Kesper, knocking his teeth out. While this is happening, Renee and Tanisha escape to another part of the warehouse. After a while, Penda comes looking for them, but Renee shoots him in the right arm. DeMarco's spirit then attacks the injured officer and brutally kills him by removing his spine. Renee believes she is next and gets ready to confront the spirit, but Tanisha assures her that DeMarco won't harm her. In the aftermath of this event, emergency services arrive at the scene and hospitalize both Renee and Tanisha. The women even see their sons together, signifying that they have found peace and are now able to move on. They're gonna play PS5 Pro together in heaven now. Don't you guys worry. The news soon covers the corruption in the Swinton Police Department, and Kesper, who survived the attack, is found guilty and sent to prison. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.